Max Verstappen is now a two-time F1 world champion, something that has felt inevitable since he burst onto the scene. His pathway to glory started at a very young age. The journey has been enthralling, controversial, and at times chaotic. Let's take a look at how Max Verstappen has risen to the apex of the pinnacle of motorsports. At the 2014 Belgian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen occupied a seat at one of the round tables in the Red Bull Energy Station section that belonged to Toro Rosso. A few microphones were propped up on a sign that said reserved, and there were cans of Red Bull placed in a prominent location on one side, while on the other side there was a swarm of voice recorders pointed in his direction. It was his first public introduction to Formula One. It is not out of the ordinary to see young drivers participating in media events like this one. However, this one was, given it occurred just a few days after Red Bull had stunned the paddock by revealing his status as a racing driver for Toro Rosso for the 2015 season. He was only 16 years old at the time. Back then, most people were familiar with the name Verstappen. His life and career had been tracked since he was the son of an ex-karting ace named Sophie and a former Formula One driver named Jos. In fact, his birth was announced on Jos' website on September 30, 1997, with a line that joked, "If Max has inherited the racing talents of both his parents, a new F1 driver for the year 2020 has been born today." Max didn't need to wait till 2020 before making a mark in the sport. You're enjoying this video, right? You definitely don't want to miss out on other amazing videos. So all you have to do is hit the subscription button. It's that easy. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on. Max was ruthlessly trained by Jos during his highly successful karting career. Max's proper start in karts occurred at the same time that Jos' F1 career began to wane in 2003, allowing Jos to have the focus and time to train his son. In 2014, Max moved up to Formula 3, which is notable in and of itself, given that he skipped the typical open-wheel starting point of Formula 4. Race wins in Formula 3 left Verstappen in the shop window. GP2 shortly beckoned, and he was expected to be a contender for a Formula 1 seat a few years down the line. But Mercedes and Red Bull were both interested in having Verstappen as a junior driver, and Red Bull took a smart move by promising Verstappen a racing seat for Toro Rosso in 2015. It didn't take long for Verstappen to make an impression with Toro Rosso. Not only did he finish in the points on a consistent basis, but he also made more passes than any other driver. This swashbuckling style helped to grow his already sizable fan base. After only 4 rounds of his second season with Toro Rosso, Red Bull pulled off another surprise by moving him up to the senior squad to replace Danny Kvyat for the Spanish Grand Prix. He then went on and won the race. He was just 18 years old at the time. It was an astonishing rise from karting to an F1 win in just over 2 years. The next couple of seasons were less straightforward. Instead of going through his natural learning process in a junior category or a midfield team, Verstappen developed in the spotlight while trying to compete against Mercedes and Ferrari in a Red Bull machinery that was less competitive and less reliable than he desired. Verstappen pulled off daring moves and starring performances, the most notable one being a wet weather display in Brazil in 2016, which was outstanding. He also irritated rivals with some of his actions as he stumbled into collisions and made missteps while appearing unwilling to compromise. In 2018, errors plagued Verstappen throughout the first 6 races of the season, including a high-speed collision with teammate Daniel Ricciardo in Azerbaijan and a costly practice crash in Monaco. Red Bull, who had previously coddled Verstappen, issued a public reprimand to their driver, telling him to get a grip. After the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix, team boss Christian Horner said he needs to learn from it and stop making these errors. Max has an abundance of talent and has had some harsh lessons. Despite this, Red Bull never lost hope in Verstappen's ability to reach his full potential. Red Bull was aware that he would make errors, but was confident that he would eventually become stronger and more formidable as a result of the lessons he gained from his youthful impatience and lack of experience. Verstappen secured a lucrative deal through the end of 2020, signaling Red Bull's trust in the Dutchman while warding off potential offers from Mercedes and Ferrari. Verstappen reciprocated that long-term faith. After Ricciardo's exit from the team at the end of 2018, Verstappen gradually established himself as the new team leader for Red Bull. He started utilizing his raw speed with a more mature attitude. In 2019, Verstappen's growth allowed him to finish in the top 3 in the driver's standings for the first time, trailing only the Mercedes drivers. This accomplishment included 3 victories as well as his first pole position. There were still some heated moments on the track, most notably in Mexico, which prompted Lewis Hamilton to make the remark, "It's very likely you're going to come together with Max if you don't give him extra space."
Max, it's very likely you're going to come together with Max if you don't give him extra space,
But that year, Verstappen was still trying to drag the 3rd fastest car higher than it deserved. As a result, he was forced to take risks in order to give himself a chance of winning. Taking home 3 wins was an impressive feat, and this made Red Bull extend his contract till 2023. By the end of 2018, Red Bull felt Verstappen was ready for a title battle, but he lacked both the car and engine to do so. 2 years later, the situation was frustratingly similar. In 2020, Verstappen scooped one win from 16, often had to settle for a distant second or third, and had to grapple with more misfortune than his opponents. Yet, the very end of 2020 provided encouraging clues. Abu Dhabi was a track that Mercedes had always dominated, but Verstappen ended the year with a bang by claiming the pole position and winning the race there. It gave Red Bull hope heading into the winter break. When 2021 dawned, Red Bull's optimism turned out to be more than just a mirage in the Oasis. Its chassis improvements, combined with Honda's decision to bring forward by 1 year its planned power unit for 2022, propelled it firmly into contention. Assisted by changes to the regulations that, while relatively minor, were significant enough to hurt Mercedes' low-rake design concept. In his whole career, this was the first time that Verstappen had a car and an engine that were both capable of challenging for a championship. It made it possible for Verstappen and Hamilton to engage in a furious competition in machinery that was on similar levels. It was an amazing battle throughout the entire season, and Verstappen emerged victorious. He did it on that remarkable closing lap. He earned his title as world champion in a deserving manner. A whole book could be written about the 2021 title fight, and no doubt it will be spoken about in the coming decades, just as the seasons involving Hunt, Lauda, Prost, Senna, and Hakkinen Schumacher are still revered. When Verstappen won the 2021 Formula One Championship in Abu Dhabi, it was a climactic moment that encapsulated all of the excitement and drama that frequently surrounded him. Lewis Hamilton had a 10-second lead with just 5 laps left in the race, but a crash in the penultimate lap resulted in the deployment of a safety car, and Max Verstappen was able to pass the Englishman on the final lap in what was an extremely dramatic ending to the season, denying the Mercedes driver a record 8th F1 championship. This kind of drama was arguably a very fitting way to crown Verstappen with his first F1 title, and it marked the start of a new era in Formula One. Verstappen's initial races of 2022 were plagued by reliability issues, as he endured mechanical DNFs in both the first Grand Prix, which took place in Bahrain, and the third, which took place in Australia. After Melbourne, he was 6th place overall and 46 points behind Leclerc, which was an enormous obstacle for him to overcome. He trusted that the engineers would improve the car to suit his style, which they did excellently well. As a result, he impressively carved out 3 consecutive wins at Imola, Miami, and Spain. He worked hard to get the most out of the car, and he showed patience and composure while doing so. Red Bull had taken the weight out of Verstappen's car by the 9th round in Canada, giving him the sharp front end that he prefers, and his outstanding win in Canada was an indication of how comfortable he was. Since then, he became unstoppable, despite Ferrari potentially having the quicker race car. With 4 races still to go, Verstappen was eventually able to clinch the championship in Suzuka. Verstappen's career in the sport has been going from strength to strength, and he has established himself as one of the most entertaining drivers in Formula One. His aggressive driving style creates some memorable moments when he is out on the track. In the years to come, how many more championships do you see Max Verstappen winning? Let me know in the comments section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this one. See you in the next video.